The Broken Treaty, a colony under threat. The twin suns of Kepler 442b painted the sky in shades of amber and gold as another peaceful day dawned over New Haven Colony, the settlement, sprawled across a fertile valley, home to 15,000 human colonists who had spent the last decade transforming this world into something beautiful. Fields of genetically modified wheat swayed in the gentle breeze, while solar panels glittered on rooftops like scattered diamonds. This wasn't just a mining operation anymore. It had become a home. Colony Administrator Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the main administrative building, sipping her morning coffee and watching the activity. Below, children walked to school in small groups, their laughter carrying on the wind. Farmers loaded hover trucks with fresh produce destined for the processing centers. In the distance, the native Quellan people moved through their own section of the settlement, their luminescent skin shimmering as they worked alongside human engineers on the water purification systems. The Quellans were a peaceful species, barely reaching 4 feet in height, with gentle dispositions and incredible botanical knowledge. When humans first arrived, the Quellans had welcomed them with open arms, sharing their understanding of the planet's ecosystem. In return, humans provided technology and protection from the harsh radiation storms that occasionally swept the northern continent. It was a partnership that benefited both species, a shining example of what cooperation could achieve in the vast darkness of space. Sarah smiled as she watched a group of human children playing with young Quellans near the central fountain. They were teaching each other games, bridging the gap between worlds with the innocent ease that only children possessed. This was why she had left Earth 15 years ago, why she had dedicated her life to this colony. This was the future humanity deserved. Her communicator buzzed, shattering the morning tranquility. Administrator Chin, we have multiple contacts entering the system. Ships, a lot of them. The voice belonged to Lieutenant James Rodriguez, head of the colony's modest defense force. His tone carried an edge of worry that made Sarah's stomach tighten. The Zelthan arrival. Sarah rushed to the command center, her coffee forgotten on the observation deck railing. The main screen displayed a tactical view of the Kepler 442 system, and what she saw made her blood run cold. 17 warships had emerged from quantum slip space at the system's edge, their energy signatures unmistakable. Zelthan Empire vessels, each one bristling with weapons powerful enough to crack a planet's crust. Zelthans were infamous throughout known space, a reptilian species standing over 8 ft tall, covered in armored scales that ranged from deep crimson to midnight black. They had built their empire on conquest and intimidation. They took what they wanted, enslaved those who resisted, and destroyed those who fought back. Dozens of species had fallen before their military might in the past century. Why are they here? Sarah whispered, though she already knew the answer. Kepler 442b sat atop one of the richest deposits of iridium-7 in this sector, a rare element essential for faster-than-light travel. The Zelthans had been expanding aggressively, and New Haven had apparently caught their attention. "They're hailing us," Rodriguez reported, his hand hovering over the communication controls. Sarah straightened her uniform and nodded. "Put them through." The screen flickered, and a massive Zelthan face filled the display. Commander Vexthor of the Zelthan Imperial Fleet stared down at her with cold yellow eyes that held no trace of empathy. Scars crisscrossed his scaled face, each one a testament to countless battles. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder, translated by the communication system into perfect English. Human settlement. I am Commander Vexthor. This world now belongs to the Zelthan Empire. You have one standard cycle to evacuate your people and transfer all mining operations, infrastructure, and resources to our control. Resistance will result in complete annihilation. Desperate negotiations. Sarah fought to keep her voice steady. Commander Vexthor, New Haven is a registered colony under Earth Defense Charter 7 Alpha. This world was unclaimed when we arrived, and we have legal rights. Vexthor's laugh cut her off, a harsh sound that made several officers in the command center flinch. Your Earth laws mean nothing beyond your tiny corner of space. Human, we have 17 warships. You have a mining colony with maybe a dozen security shuttles. You have no military presence, no orbital defense platforms, no weapons capable of harming us. You will comply or you will die. Those are your only options. Please, Sarah said, abandoning protocol in favor of raw honesty. There are 15,000 people here. Families, children. The Quellans are a protected species under galactic convention. The Quellans will make excellent slaves. They have knowledge of this world that will prove useful. As for your children, Vexthor's scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. They will learn to serve the Empire or they will learn to die. The choice is yours. Administrator Chin. The screen went dark. Sarah stood frozen for a moment, her mind racing through possibilities. She could evacuate, but where would they go? The nearest human settlement was 3 weeks away by standard transport, and they didn't have enough ships to move everyone. They could fight, but with what? Their security force was equipped to handle minor disputes and the occasional equipment malfunction, not a full-scale military invasion. Get me a direct line to Earth Defense Command, she ordered. Priority Alpha, and send out a colony-wide alert. I want every department head in this room in 10 minutes. The Harvest Festival massacre. The next 20 hours passed in a blur of desperate activity while Sarah coordinated evacuation plans and sent increasingly urgent messages to Earth. The Zelthan fleet maintained a holding position at the edge of the system. They were confident, patient, secure in their overwhelming superiority. They had all the time in the world. Sarah managed to negotiate a temporary ceasefire to allow the colonists to begin evacuating non-essential personnel, mothers with young children, the elderly, the sick. Anyone who couldn't contribute to a potential defense effort would be sent away first. 3 transport ships were prepared, filled with terrified families, clutching whatever possessions they could carry. The first transport, the Harvest Moon, was scheduled to depart at dawn. It carried 300 souls, most of them families who had been returning from the annual Harvest Festival in the northern settlements. Sarah watched from the command center as the transport lifted off, its engines glowing bright blue against the morning sky. They're clear of the atmosphere, Rodriguez reported, relief evident in his voice. Entering the safe corridor, the Zelthan designated for evacuation traffic, Sarah allowed herself a moment of hope. Maybe They could do this, maybe they could. Save everyone before multiple energy spikes from the Zelthan fleet, Rodriguez shouted their powering weapons on. The screen Sarah watched in horror as 3 Zelthan destroyers opened fire. Plasma bolts, each one carrying enough energy to vaporize a city block straight across space toward the defenseless transport ship. The Harvest Moon never stood a chance. The first impact tore through its rear section, sending the ship spinning. The second and third strikes hit simultaneously, and the transport simply ceased to exist, replaced by an expanding cloud of debris and superheated gas. 300 lives gone in an instant. The command center erupted in chaos. Officers shouted alarms, blared. Someone was crying. Sarah stood motionless, staring at the empty space where the Harvest Moon had been just seconds ago. Families, children, people who had trusted her to keep them safe. Her communicator crackled to life with Vexther's voice dripping with cruel amusement. Your time is up, Administrator. That was a demonstration of our resolve. The next strike will be against your colony itself. Surrender now or watch everyone you care about burn. The call for help. Sarah's hands shook as she activated the emergency broadcast system. Her voice when she spoke was hollow with shock and grief. This is Administrator Sarah Chin of New Haven Colony, Kepler 442b to Earth. Defense Command, we are under attack by Zelthan Imperial forces. They have destroyed an evacuation transport carrying 300 civilians in violation of ceasefire agreement. We have no military assets capable of defense. Request immediate military intervention. Priority Alpha. God help us all. She sent the message on a tight beam quantum transmission, knowing it would reach Earth in hours rather than weeks, but hours might as well be years. The Zelthan fleet was already moving into attack formation. Vexther's face appeared on the screen once more. You called for help, human. How predictable. How pathetic, but your Earth is far away. And we are here now. Your people will surrender or they will die screaming. Personally, I hope you choose to fight. It has been too long since I enjoyed a proper massacre. You killed children, Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. Innocent children I killed. Obstacles, Vextherd. Weak, soft, worthless obstacles. This is why humans will never be more than prey species in this galaxy. You lack the strength to do what must be done. You waste resources on sentiment and mercy. These weaknesses will be your extinction. The screen went dark again, and Sarah felt something cold settle her chest. Not fear, not anymore. Something harder, something that felt like a promise. Earth's response. 14 light years away on Earth. Admiral Marcus Stone stood in the strategic command center deep beneath Geneva. He was a tall man in his late 50s, with gray touching his temples and lines around his eyes that spoke of countless difficult decisions. He had served in Earth defense for 34 years, rising through the ranks through skill, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to protecting humanity's interests. Among the stars, he watched Sarah Chen's distress call for the third time, his jaw clenched so tight it arced. Behind him, his command staff waited in tense silence. They had all seen the tactical data, the recordings of the Harvest Moon's destruction, the intelligence reports on Zelthan military capabilities. They knew what they were being asked to do. Sir, his executive officer ventured carefully. The third Fleet can be ready to deploy within 6 hours, but the Zelthan force at Kepler 442b significantly outguns us, even with our technological advantages. The mission success probability is rated at only 42%. Command is recommending we negotiate, Marcus repeated. The word like it was poison, with the species that just murdered 300 civilians. Under a flag of truce that includes families, that includes children. He turned to face his staff, and something in his expression made several of them step back. My daughter was on the Harvest Moon. Jessica, she was 26 years old. She taught xenobiology at the New Haven Academy. She loved that colony, loved working with the Quellan children, helping them understand the universe. She wrote me letters every week telling me about her students, about the life she was building. She was supposed to visit Earth next month for her mother's birthday. The room had gone completely silent. The Zelthans don't want negotiation, Marcus continued, his voice dropping to something cold and hard. They want submission. They think we're weak because we value peace. They think we're prey because we try diplomacy. First, they think we'll roll over and let them take whatever they want because we're afraid. He walked to the tactical display and activated the Third Fleet deployment protocols with his command codes across Earth's orbital shipyards. Proximity alerts began to sound as crews rushed to battle stations. 12 heavy cruisers, 24 destroyers, 48 fighters, and 1 dreadnought, all cutting vessels equipped with technology the Zelthans had never encountered. Send a message to the Third Fleet. Marcus ordered full deployment to Kepler 442b. Quantum slip space, maximum speed, rules of engagement, weapons free on all Zelthan military targets, no quarter given, no prisoners taken unless they surrender unconditionally. His executive officer hesitated. Sir, that's essentially a declaration of total war against the Zelthan Empire. Marcus looked at the frozen image of Vex Thor on the display, at that cruel, arrogant smile that said he believed humans were nothing more than prey to be hunted. Good, Marcus said quietly, let them learn what happens when you piss off the humans. Let them learn what happens when you touch our children. They wanted to see our strength. They're about to get a demonstration they'll never forget. The Third Fleet began its launch sequence, disappearing one by one into quantum slip space, racing toward a distant world where 300 ghosts cried out for justice. And in his quarters aboard the dreadnought Retribution, Admiral Marcus Stone looked at a photo of his daughter smiling in her teaching lab with a group of Quellan children clustered around her. I'm coming, Jess, he whispered. Daddy's coming, and I'm bringing hell with me. The reckoning, the storm arrives. The Zelthan occupation of New Haven had been proceeding exactly as Commander Vexthor expected. His ground forces had landed without resistance, herding the remaining colonists into detention camps while his engineers began dismantling the mining equipment for transport back to Imperial space. The Quillans had been separated from the humans, their bioluminescent forms dimmed by fear as shock collars were fitted around their slender necks. It was efficient, methodical, exactly how conquest should be. Vexthor stood in what had been Administrator Chen's office, now his command post, reviewing production reports when his tactical officer burst through the door without announcing himself. The younger Zelthan Scales were rippling with agitation, a biological response to extreme stress. Commander, multiple quantum signatures. Detected at system edge, 17 contacts. Human warships, sir. Vexter's eyes narrowed, 17 ships, the same number as his own fleet. The humans had responded faster than expected, but it didn't matter. His intelligence reports were clear about human military capabilities. Their ships were smaller, their weapons less powerful, their tactics conservative and defensive. They would posture, maybe fire a few shots to save face, then retreat when they realized the situation was hopeless. Let them come, Vexter said, baring his fangs. In anticipation, humans are merchants and farmers playing at being warriors. We in LT, Unk and GT, LL destroy their fleet and then finish what we started here. Perhaps we'll stream the battle to their home world so they understand their place in this galaxy. He walked to the tactical display, watching as the human fleet emerged from quantum slip space with mathematical precision. Their formation was tight, disciplined, centered around a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even his own flagship. The ship's designation scrolled across the display, EDF. Retribution. How dramatic, Vexter thought with amusement. These humans and their need to name everything as if words could substitute for actual power. All ships to battle stations, he ordered. Lazily, standard engagement pattern. Let's make this quick. First blood. Admiral Marcus Stone stood on the bridge of the Retribution, his hands clasped behind his back as he surveyed the Zelthan fleet through the main view screen. Each ship was massive, brutal. Its design, covered in armor plating and bristling with plasma cannons, they outnumbered his force 3-1 in raw firepower, and their crews were Batley, hardened veterans of a dozen conquests. Under normal circumstances, this would be a suicide mission. Tactical assessment, Commander Hayes, Marcus said calmly. His tactical officer, a sharp-eyed woman with 20 years of combat experience, pulled up detailed scans. Zelthan fleet is moving into standard attack formation, sir. They're confident, maybe too confident. They haven't raised shields to full power, and their point defense systems are still in standby mode. They're treating this like a police action, not a real fight. They think we're prey, Marcus said quietly. They think we came here to negotiate our posture. They have no idea what's coming. He touched his command console, opening a fleet-wide channel. Every captain, every crew member on every ship heard his voice, cold and clear. All ships, this is Stone. You've all seen the footage. You know what they did to the Harvest Moon. You know that 300 of our people, including children, were murdered under a flag of truce. Zelthans think we're weak. They think we're afraid. They're about to learn the most important lesson in this galaxy. You can push humanity, you can challenge us, you can even fight us, but the moment you touch our innocent, the moment you harm our children, you don't get mercy, you don't get negotiation. You get extinction. He paused, letting his words sink in. Operation Righteous Fury is go. Show them what humans are really capable of. Show them what happens when you piss off the wrong species. All ships weapons free. Leave nothing but wreckage. The tactical officer's fingers flew across her console, initiating Phase 1, EMP pulse. In 3, 2, 1, firing electromagnetic devastation. The Retribution's main weapon wasn't a cannon or missile launcher. It was something the Zelthans had never encountered before, a directed electromagnetic pulse generator, the product of 50 years of classified research. The device fired invisible, but devastating, expanding outward from the dreadnought in a perfect sphere that engulfed half the Zelthan fleet in less than 2 seconds. On 9 Zelthan warships, every electronic system simultaneously died. Lights went dark, engines sputtered and failed, weapons powered down, life support switched to emergency backup, shield generators collapsed in an instant. 9 of the most powerful warships in the Zelthan Empire became nothing more than massive drifting coffins. Phase 1 successful. Commander Hayes reported 9 enemy vessels disabled. Remaining 8 are breaking formation, attempting to regroup. Don't give them time, Marcus ordered. Cruiser groups Alpha and Beta focus fire on their command ship. Destroyer squadrons pair up and take down their remaining heavy vessels. Fighter wings launch and engage their support craft. Let's finish this. The human fleet moved with practice, precision, each ship knowing exactly what to do. The Zelthans suddenly reduced to nearly even numbers and facing weapons technology they didn't understand, found themselves fighting for survival instead of claiming an easy victory. Vexthor watched in disbelief as his fleet fell apart around him. Human ships moved like nothing he'd ever seen, their engines producing acceleration rates that should have been impossible, their weapons hitting with surgical precision from distances his own guns couldn't match. His flagship shuddered as multiple impacts hammered against its shields. Return fire, he roared, all weapons maximum power. Destroy them, but the humans weren't there when his plasma bolts arrived. They had already moved, repositioned, using tactics that seemed to anticipate his every order. It was like fighting ghosts that could read minds and hit like freight trains, planet-side fury. While the space battle raged above, 3 dozen human drop pods screamed through Kepler 442b's atmosphere like meteors. Inside each pod 5 Marines and powered combat armor waited with the cold patience of professional soldiers who knew exactly what they were about to do. These weren't peacekeepers or security forces, they were the Terran Marine Corps, humanity's finest warriors, trained for the worst combat situations imaginable. Sergeant First Class Maria Santos checked her squad's vital signs on her helmet display as the pod's heat shields glowed cherry red. Her squad had been together for 6 years, fought in 3 major campaigns, and earned a reputation for getting impossible jobs done. Today's job was simple: rescue colonists, eliminate Zelthan ground forces, make sure the message was crystal clear. 30 seconds to impact. The pod's AI announced landing zone is hot. Enemy forces detected in all quadrants. Good, Maria said grimly. More targets. Remember your training. Remember why we're here, and remember, no mercy for child killers. Aura. Her squad responded in unison. The pod slammed into the ground near the central detention camp with enough force to create a small crater. The side panels exploded outward and 5 armored figures emerged into the Kepler 442b. Dawn, their weapons already tracking targets. The Zelthan guards barely had time to register the threat before rail gun rounds tore through their armored scales with devastating efficiency. Human military technology had advanced significantly since first contact with alien species. The powered armor each. Marine War multiplied their strength by a factor of 10, incorporated active camouflage systems that made them nearly invisible and could withstand direct hits from most conventional weapons. Their rifles fired magnetically, accelerated projectiles at hypersonic velocities designed specifically to penetrate the thick armor that made Zelthan so formidable in close combat. Maria's squad moved through the detention camp like avenging angels. Zelthan guards fell before they could raise alarms, their shock and confusion evident in their final moments. These weren't the weak, frightened colonists they'd been terrorizing. These were predators wearing human skin, and they had come for blood. Within 10 minutes, the detention camp was secure. Colonists emerged from the buildings crying with relief, some collapsing in shock. Maria had 2 of her Marines start organizing the evacuation while she moved toward the administrative building where intelligence suggested Vexthor had established his command post. All squads report status, she said over the tactical network. Responses came back quickly. All 36 drop pods had landed successfully. Zelthan forces planet side were being systematically eliminated. The advantage of surprise, superior technology, and overwhelming motivation was proving devastating. The Zelthans had expected to face frightened civilians. Instead, they found themselves hunted by professionals who had trained their entire lives for exactly this kind of operation. The hunter becomes prey. In orbit, the space battle had turned into a slaughter. The Zelthan fleet, already reduced by half from the EMP strike, was being picked apart with methodical efficiency. Human cruisers worked in pairs, one drawing fire while the other struck from an unexpected angle. Destroyers used their superior speed to stay out of effective range while hammering enemy ships with long-range missiles. Fighters swarmed like angry hornets, targeting engines and weapon systems with precision strikes. Vexthor's flagship was burning. Its shields collapsed, hull breached in a dozen places. He had tried to retreat, tried to regroup, tried every tactical maneuver in the Zelthan military doctrine. Nothing worked. The humans anticipated everything, countered everything, and hit back twice as hard. Sir, we've lost the Devastator, the Conqueror, and the blood price, his tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. The eternal wrath is venting. Atmosphere, we're down to 3 functional warships and they're all critically damaged. How? Vexthor demanded, slamming his clawed fist against his command chair. How are they doing this? They're supposed to be weak. They're supposed to be prey. His communication officer looked up from his console, his scales pale with fear. Sir, incoming transmission from the human dreadnought. It's marked as priority diplomatic communication. Put it through. Vexthor snarled, wanting to spit defiance at whoever commanded this human fleet. Admiral Marcus Stone's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, older than his years, but his eyes held something that made even Vexthor's warrior instinct scream danger. This was a predator. This was death incarnate. Wearing a human face, Commander Vexthor, Marcus said quietly, I'm going to explain something to you that you should have learned before you came to this system. Humanity didn't rise to the top of Earth's food chain by being the strongest or the fastest or the most vicious. We did it by being the smartest, the most adaptable, and the most relentless. We did it by working Together by protecting our families by remembering those who hurt us, he leaned forward slightly. You killed my daughter. You killed 300 innocent people who were just trying to survive. You thought we were weak because we prefer peace. You thought we were prey because we valued diplomacy. You made the worst mistake any species can make. You mistook mercy for weakness. Vexter tried to speak, but Marcus continued, his voice dropping to something colder than deep space. You wanted to see human strength. Look around you. Your fleet is destroyed. Your ground forces are being eliminated as we speak. Your empire is about to learn a lesson it will never forget. The message is simple. You can fight humanity. You can compete with us. You can even be our enemies. But the moment you deliberately harm our innocent, especially our children, you don't get to negotiate. You don't get to surrender. You get exactly what you gave them. You can't do this. Vexter finally managed galactic law, the conventions. You broke those laws when you fired on an evacuation transport under ceasefire. Marcus interrupted. You declared total war the moment you murdered children. Now you get to experience what total war with humanity actually means. Final judgment. Maria Santos and her squad breached the administrative building using shaped charges that turned the reinforced doors into shrapnel. They moved through the corridors with practiced efficiency, clearing rooms, securing positions, working their way toward the command center. Zelthan guards tried to mount resistance, but they were designed for occupation duty, not fighting soldiers who moved like shadows and hit like thunder. The command center door was reinforced dural, designed to withstand orbital bombardment. Maria's demolitions expert placed a breaching charge that would have made a smaller building collapse. The explosion was deafening even through her armor's audio dampeners. Inside she found Commander Vexter still at his command station, watching his fleet die on the tactical displays. He turned as the Marines entered, and for a moment they stared at each other across the smoky room. The massive Zelthan stood over 8 ft tall, his scales scarred from countless battles, claws that could tear through steel. He looked like something from humanity's ancient nightmares, a dragon made flesh. Maria raised her rifle, aiming directly at his chest. Commander Vexthor, you are under arrest for war crimes against humanity and the Quellan people, specifically for the murder of 300 civilians during a declared ceasefire. You will be transported to Earth for trial. Vexter's laugh was bitter. You think your laws apply to me? I am a commander of the Zelthan Empire. I answer only to the Emperor. Your Emperor isn't here, Maria said coldly. We are, and you're going to watch what happens when you piss off the humans. You're going to see every ship in your fleet destroyed. You're going to hear about every soldier under your command being eliminated. You're going to understand, really understand what you unleashed when you killed those families. She activated her helmets, external speakers linking to Admiral Stone's broadcast. Vexter was forced to listen as ship after ship reported in, confirming Zelthan vessels destroyed, ground forces neutralized, the complete and total annihilation of every military asset in the Kepler 442b system when the last Zelthan ship exploded, leaving nothing but expanding debris fields. Maria spoke again. 300 civilians, 300 innocent people who never hurt anyone, who just wanted to live their lives in Build something beautiful, you took them from us, so we took everything from you. That's the lesson, Commander. That's what you're going to explain to your Emperor when we send you back. Aftermath. And message, 3 days later, Commander. Vexter stood in the brig of the Retribution, watching through a viewport as the rescued colonists boarded transport ships. The Quillans had been freed from their shock collars, reunited with the surviving humans. The dead had been recovered and given proper honors. New Haven was rebuilding, defended now by a permanent Earth Defense Force garrison. Admiral Marcus Stone visited the brig once, standing outside Vexter's cell. Neither spoke for a long moment. Why spare me? Vexter finally asked. Why not just kill me with the rest? Because you're a message, Marcus replied. You're going back to your Emperor with recordings of what happened. Here, you're going to tell him that humanity tried peace first. We tried diplomacy. We offered cooperation and trade. But when you cross the line, when you harm our innocent, especially our children, there is no force in this galaxy that will stop us from getting justice. He turned to leave, then paused. My daughter's name was Jessica. She taught xenobiology. She believed in building bridges between species. She died believing the galaxy could be better. You took that from her, from me, from all of us. Remember her name. Remember all their names, and pray to whatever gods you believe in, that your Emperor is smarter than you were. The Retribution departed Kepler 442b system. 2 weeks later, leaving behind a transformed world, the rescued colonist had erected a memorial in the central square, a wall of polished stone, inscribed with 300 names. Jessica Stone's name was first, followed by the others, a permanent reminder of the cost of underestimating humanity's protective instincts. News of the Battle of Kepler 442 be spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The Zelthan Empire faced with recordings of their fleet complete destruction and Commander Vexter's humiliating defeat, sued for peace. Within a month, the treaty was harsh. Reparations to the victims' families, recognition of all human territorial claims, and a formal apology broadcast to every species in known space. Other species took notice. The Krillian Dominion, which had been making aggressive moves toward human mining operations in the TD system, suddenly discovered a deep respect for treaty boundaries. The consortium of merchant worlds, which had been considering refusing trade agreements with Earth, found themselves enthusiastically embracing human partnerships. Humanity's reputation had changed overnight. They were no longer seen as naive newcomers or potential prey. They were recognized as a species that preferred peace but possessed the capability and will to wage devastating war when pushed beyond tolerance. In the halls of the Galactic Senate, a new saying emerged, whispered in 100 languages by 1,000 species. Trade with humans, negotiate with humans, compete with humans if you must, but never ever harm their innocent, because the day you do, you won't be fighting humans anymore. You'll be fighting monsters who remember every face of every child you hurt, and they will not stop until you've paid in full. Elag. 1 year later, Administrator Sarah Chen stood at the memorial wall in New Haven Central Square. The settlement had grown to 20,000 people, with new buildings rising every month. The Quellans had expanded their district, and human children played with Quellan youngsters in the parks without Fear, Admiral Marcus Stone had visited. Once since the battle, standing before his daughter's name for nearly an hour. Without speaking, Sarah had stood with him, two parents who had lost everything but found a way to keep going. She would have been proud, Sarah had told him quietly. Jessica believed in protecting the innocent. She believed in justice. You honored her memory by getting justice for her and all the others. Marcus had nodded, touching his daughter's engraved name with gentle fingers. I didn't do it for justice, he'd admitted. I did it because I'm her father and someone hurt my little girl. But maybe it was justice too. Maybe those things can be the same. Now, standing alone at the memorial, Sarah read the inscription at the top of the wall, words chosen by the colonists themselves. Remember them. Remember what was lost. Remember what was saved. Remember that peace has a price, and that price is vigilance. Remember that mercy has limits, and those limits are our children. Remember and never forget. Humanity will always protect its own. The twin sun set over New Haven, painting the sky in amber and gold. In the distance, EDF patrol ships glided across the horizon, silent sentinels keeping watch, and across the galaxy 1,000 languages, species told their children about the humans, the species that sought peace but waged total war. When their families were threatened, the species you should never ever piss